I want to thank the Employer Health and Benefits Congress for inviting us to speak here today. We're all here today to talk about health and well-being. Health and well-being for our employees, for our businesses, and for ourselves. And given the expertise and the experience within this room, I wouldn't dare come on this stage unless we had a different perspective. Unless we had a different perspective to a topic that is so germane, so in the news today, the sedentary workplace. Sitting's the new smoking, right? We've all heard that. And we have a different perspective. We come from the fitness industry. So Life Fitness is the parent company, part of Brunswick as well. And as a result of that, we've got 40 years of biomechanics and exercise physiology that allows us to think differently. It allows us to think differently about this problem, and it allows us to bring that expertise to activate the workplace, to be able to put solutions that our employees can actually use to get healthier. So we're going to talk about 3 different topics. First, I want to talk about why the workplace is so sick today and what it's doing to our people. And then we're going to talk about some solutions that you can take back to your organizations right when this is over. Right when this conference is over, there's things that you could bring back to your organization and you'll be able to get the benefits from it. And then lastly, I want to talk about what's going to happen. If you take those solutions, if you bring those back, talk about some of the benefits that you're actually going to see there. So I want to talk about myself just a little bit. I, like many of you, have worked in corporate America for a long, long time. And as I worked in corporate America, my day went something like this, and it might be familiar. So my day went that I would get up in the morning very early, I would sit in my car, and I would drive 45 minutes to my office, sitting. I would get to the office, and then I would go through my emails, and I would go through my voicemails from the night before, again, sitting. And then I would go through my day, and it would start with staff meetings, and it would start with conference calls and other meetings in conference rooms, and I sat, and I sat, and I sat. And because I came from an industry that focuses on fitness, many times I would get to go to the gym. I would get to go work out for 60 minutes during lunchtime. But in many cases, because of the priorities would trump that, I would go back to my desk and I would generally eat at my desk, my lunch. And the back half of the day, very, very similar. Back half of the day consisted of going to other meetings, again, and I sat, and I sat, and I sat throughout the entire time I was sitting. And then at the end of the day, I would get back in my car, and guess what? I would sit some more, and I would drive home to see my family, where I would sit down and have dinner with them. And I would help my children with their homework, again sitting, and by then I was done. End of the day, maybe I would watch a little bit of the news. I became a professional sitter. That's what I became. And it should sound familiar because the average person in America sits for 88% of the time. 88% of the time they're immobile, they're sedentary. It's an incredible amount of time that we just spend sitting. And so I want to talk about what happens when you sit that long and the negative aspects associated with it. You know, we come from the fitness industry, and 15% of the population is using exercise equipment, 15%. So that leaves 85% of the population that's not using exercise equipment, that's not exercising on a regular basis. And if you do the math, 85%, it turns out to be a lot of people. A lot of people are not getting exercise. And so we started to say to ourselves, how could we bring these benefits? How could we bring the benefits of exercise, those feel-good moments of accomplishing something for yourself? How could we bring that to the people who are not exercising? And so we started to look into it. And what we realized is the way we're working is hurting us. The way that we file into our offices is hurting us. It's hurting us, It's hurting our businesses. It's hurting our bottom line. I think we can do better. In fact, when you look at the statistics, employees who are suffering cost employers 62% more than those who are thriving. 62% more in healthcare costs. And so people who are suffering, who have multiple risks when they do their HRAs, those folks cost us a lot of money. So our bodies were meant to move. We've been doing that for thousands of years. Our bodies were meant to move. We were hunters and gatherers. And if we didn't move, we didn't survive. It was that clear. And then we were farmers, where we were planting and we're harvesting. And again, we were moving. And during the manufacturing age, we were moving. We were meant to move. And then came technology age, information age, right? Technology is fantastic. It allows us to work faster and smarter and be more productive in some cases, and to work longer, tethered to our chairs. I think we can do better. Our jobs shouldn't be making us sick. Coming to the office shouldn't be making us sick by sitting there and doing the work that's required. That's our jobs. So all-day sitting, as many of you probably know, has dramatic effects. In fact, in a 24-hour day, we're sedentary for all but 3 of them. That's 21 hours a day of being sedentary. It leads to diabetes and obesity and musculoskeletal issues later in life. So when I try to think about it and contrast it with exercise, I think about it like this. An apple, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. It's fantastic. Who would argue with that? Nutrition, tastes good, vitamins and minerals. Apples are great. But you eat this apple and then surround it with a whole lot of junk food, this apple doesn't stand a chance. This apple is not strong enough to offset all the junk food. This apple is like exercise. Exercise is fantastic. We built a business around exercise. We believe in it. It's good for you. But all day sitting and being sedentary, that exercise is not enough. In fact, sitting jobs have twice the rate of cardiovascular disease as standing jobs. It's clear. Your body has an inability to regulate hormones and metabolism. It's basically like we're giving our employees junk food by having them sit all day. Junk food, 9 hours a day. Sitting increases depression. I get depressed thinking about how many years I sat in a cubicle, how many years I sat and sat and sat, knowing what I know about the science behind it now. In fact, cholesterol, your body's ability to regulate cholesterol drops by 20%. And caloric burn, 1 calorie a minute. Many of you have seen this, 1 calorie a minute. 60 calories an hour. You're in the office 10 hours a day, 600 calories. As I'm up here walking around right now, I'm 3 times that. So you start to understand why our bodies are so out of balance, why it's so detrimental for us to be sitting so long and sedentary. Your body goes into sleep mode. So one of the challenges is this doesn't happen overnight. These issues creep up on you. They creep up over time. And you know where they show up? They show up in your annual physical. 10 years out, they show up as weight gain and warnings about cholesterol or blood pressure levels. And in 20 years, those warnings, they turn into required medication. This was me. This is many of us in this room. So how did we get here? When did we decide that we would come into the office and sit in our cube or office and hardly move a muscle for 88% of the time? When did we decide that's the way we're going to work? 88% of the time, immobile. Think about a call center. call center is the most unwell department of any business. Statistically proven. We know this. Call centers represent the height of workplace sickness. The human body was meant to move. Moving makes us human. I really think we're going to look back. We're going to look back at the time and the way we worked. And we're going to be puzzled. We're going to be puzzled that we came into an office and we sat for so much time. Our children, the next generation, I think it's going to be a foreign concept. I think they're going to look back at that time and say, really? That's how you worked? I hope so. I hope it's foreign to them. Technology, which is fantastic, technology has freed us. It made us mobile. And yet, with all that mobility, most of us still choose or are forced to work tethered to that workstation, cemented to our chairs, without activity throughout the day. There's a better way. So what if? What if, instead of becoming sick when you come into your job, you could actually improve? You could actually see your biometrics improve and thrive, and you get benefits while you do your job. Wouldn't that be amazing? What if the next generation could free themselves from the cubicles that we all grew up with? What if they could free themselves and actually free themselves of the illnesses that plague so many of us? There's a better way to work. There's a better way to work that leads to better health. We believe movement is human nature, that sitting is anti-evolutionary. Sitting's not worth the risks. Sitting is not worth the risk that it creates. We believe you can't move forward while sitting still. So what's the answer? It's not just standing, and it's not another walking challenge, and it's not another trip to the gym. Although all these things are great, and we encourage them, all of them are great. Traditional wellness has a great start. Created awareness, a lot of metrics, a lot of focus, but we need to go further. We need tools. We need tools and environment changes so our employees can be successful. We need them to be successful and educate them on what the ills and the problems are so that they can make the changes. Our company integrates movement into the workflow. We bring solutions and tools that will allow them to be successful, as opposed to telling them what they already know. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Exercise more. Activity tracking. Activity tracking is great. But from what we found, after 30 or 60 days, people kind of get the point. They know when they're active and when they're not active. So why don't we say, hey, that's a great way to create awareness, but how do you evolve them? How do you get them active and make it part of their life, integrated into their job? So you don't have to remember to go do this. So you don't have to think about another challenge. You don't have to put something else on your to-do list that is already overflowing with all the work that we have to do. It's time for change. We need movement. We need activity within the workplace. You may have seen just this month, the Surgeon General put out a call to action. Has anybody seen it? The Surgeon General from the United States put out a call to action that said, we need more walking within our society. We've lost that. We have cars and all the conveniences, and we don't walk anymore. And one thing that he specifically cited was walking meetings. I love it, walking meetings. Why do I love that so much? Because it's combining two things. It's combining your job and activity. It's what we're talking about. It's what we're building a business around. How do you bring the two together so that you can still be productive and get the activity at the same time? So how do we create activity as the default? So when you walk into your office, The default is going to be active, whether it's in a conference room, cubicle, or office. So it's not a second thought, so it doesn't feel like work. And we're not talking exercise. We're talking activity. It's very different. We call it productive well-being, where we unite productivity with healthy behaviors so we can prioritize our job and ourselves. By creating spaces that are default active, we allow you to do your job while moving throughout the day, and hence, eliminate the sedentary environment. We need to make changes here. Think about it like this. Years ago, we lacked the tools to save for retirement. Today, we have a 401k, right? And I would bet that the majority of the people in this room have some form of a 401k. And I would also bet that it's set up for automatic deposit, meaning you pay yourself first before you pay anyone else for a better future. InMovement creates environments that pay yourself first for health. So you're actually getting that activity while you're doing your job just by going to the office for a better future. And wouldn't it be sad if after all the planning and hard work that we all do, that you weren't able to enjoy your retirement as much as you could have because you weren't as healthy as you could have been? Isn't that really the goal in your golden years, to really enjoy that and to have your health? Isn't that what we all strive for? Well, with InMovement, you don't have to leave your desk to get your activity or remember another challenge or obligation on that to-do list. Your body's been doing it all day long. And it doesn't stop as soon as the latest walking challenge ends or you earned your wellness credit. Small changes equal big results. Why? Because you're doing it for 8 to 10 hours a day. Little movement throughout the day. It really adds up. Me, a marathon runner who could never get his cholesterol down, after 6 months, my cholesterol dropped by 23%. And I lost weight at a time when my metabolism is slowing. The proof is there, it works. We've engaged with companies from Fortune 100 companies to law firms, private business, and even wellness companies who have come to us to improve the health of their employees. By moving more, your body wards off sleep mode. You've got more energy, focus, and concentration. In fact, in all the participants that we've worked with, 80% of them, 80% of the participants report increased productivity because they're not sleeping, they're awake, they're alive. We did a study a few months back, and we saw everyone in that study see at least one of their biometrics improve. In most cases, in many cases, multiples, really strong improvement. We tested their blood before, we went through 90 days, tested again, we saw the improvements. Reduction in stress and increased job satisfaction. Your body changes, your mood changes, you feel better. The culture change is profound. When we free people from the sedentary lifestyle, they have more energy, it's more engaging. Nobody's barely present anymore or half asleep. You know, one thing that's a good example is conference rooms. Can you think of a more sedentary place than a conference room? You walk in and you sit down. In every one of our engagements, we raise conference rooms to make them standing height. And as you raise those conference rooms, great things happen. When you walk in, guess what the default is? It's active, because you're standing and you're moving around as opposed to sitting. So it's default active. Think about a 5-hour budget meeting. 5-hour budget meeting that you're going to go sit in a conference room. You could almost feel the energy just escape you as I say those words. It just leaves you, right? And so what about a five-hour brainstorm session? A 5-hour brainstorm session has a different look and feel. People are on whiteboards, they're moving around. Their energy. InMovement creates environments that have energy. It's alive. One of the interesting byproducts of this is the meetings themselves. Because people are up and around and they're engaging, nobody's half asleep anymore. the meetings turn out to be better. We had a partner who was advising us, and she came and we talked about our program, and we showed her around, and we showed her our spaces. And one thing that she told us was she loved the program, and what she loved most about it is you're capturing the passive participant. And I said, no, you must have misunderstood me when I was trying to explain that, because we actually asked our participants to sign in, and we wanted to see where we were and how much benefit they were getting out of it. And she said, no, you misunderstood me. You are getting people who just walk into this room and they're getting the benefit whether they sign in or not. That was a big turning point for us. That helped us understand what the direction we needed to go in. And if we change the environments, we're going to get those benefits. By integrating movement into your day, you rid yourself of that guilty feeling of not another day of not getting something done for yourself, because you have. And sleep, you'll sleep better. Your body was awake. You won't have that fog at 3 o'clock because your body didn't go into sleep mode. All of our participants have told us that. And they're no longer sleeping in the meetings anymore. Think about your offices right now, your stairwells. Does anyone even know where the internal stairwells are? Or is the default to go to the elevator and push the button and go up 2 flights? Your hallways. Do you have walking paths established within your building? Does leadership model walking meetings and conference rooms? Are any of them at standing height? Or is the default to go in and be forced into another sedentary meeting? What can you do right when you get back to activate your office, to bring activity to your office? Small changes have big results. The active workplace is coming. I promise you, we see it all around us. I thought I would ask this group, who in their office has a makeshift stand-up desk? But the question is not who, but who doesn't? Who doesn't see this in your office where people are making their own stand-up desks, right? Every company I go to, after we go through a presentation, they say, come with me, let me show you our stand-up desk, right? And they've got copy paper and boxes and things like that. You know, in fact, in some organizations we go to, you go to the printer room and there's no paper. I'm trying to print a report and there's no paper. Where's the paper? Well, Judy made a stand-up desk. She took all the copy paper, now she's got a stand-up desk. Great for Judy, she's getting healthy. I still got to print my report. There's a better way to do this. At InMovement, we're building a body of research. It's called the activated workplace. You'll see it when you go to the exhibit hall. It's about a sustainable work culture. It's not exercise. That's why it works. It's thoughtfully integrating movement into the natural workflow. This vision becomes a reality when social rituals like walking meetings and standing conference rooms become the norm. When we provide work tools that enable activity in how we work and work with each other, allowing us the freedom of mobility in the workplace. Our work style has to change. This movement's our responsibility to ourselves and to the next generation. The way we work needs to be prioritized for our health and our jobs. We believe you shouldn't have to choose between earning a living and living healthy. We would love to talk to you more about the activated workplace. I would love to hear about what you've done in your offices to activate them, to provide mobility and activity that will help our employees. Thank you.